All right. Hello and welcome back. This is Don't Watch at Night, a spooky little podcast dedicated to Spanish language horror and Latin American horror. I'm your host, Valerie.
And I'm Veronica.
in her Santa glasses.
Well, let me tell you, my exercise class, we were going to have like a a Christmas themed class session.
Mhm.
We were supposed to come in our holiday finery, and I totally got my days mixed up, so I didn't get to wear it. So I needed a chance to wear it.
I thought you were going to say, and I'm the only one who showed up in my Christmas
No.
finery. I was going to laugh.
No,
Well, I'm not
I
quite.
needed a chance to wear it.
My only festive contribution to today is I am drinking nog. I am drinking my eggnog. At the time that you're listening to this, folks, it's hopefully the eve of the eve, the day before Christmas Eve. So this is our Christmas episode.
And our final episode of 2024.
Final episode of 2024. We have now been podcasting for like a full calendar year, which is amazing. Congratulations.
And do we know what we're doing? Do we know what we're doing yet?
Never. Yeah, so we are in the middle of our step outside of Spanish language horror month, where we've been taking a look at horror movies that aren't necessarily in the Spanish language category. And the first one we did was Krampus. I've already forgotten who. Michael Dougherty, directed by Michael Dougherty. And then we'll get into the movie that we just watched. Veronica probably just last night, and me Thursday night. So, but before we do, is Merry Christmas to anybody who celebrates. Happy holidays. Happy Winter Solstice. Anything else, Ron?
However you celebrate, may it be peaceful and happy, and before those of us in the United States enter the darkest timeline.
What I have gotten in the habit the last few years of wishing, I don't necessarily personally go around saying happy whatever. I wish you a peaceful holiday. I wish you peace. I wish you a peaceful New Year. We all deserve a little bit of peace in these insane times. I'm wearing mascara today, Veronica. So this is a video episode for those of you wondering. We do have a Patreon now. We'll talk about it at the end, but this is our second video episode that we'll be sharing on the Patreon. So if you want to be part of our little family over there, please join. We'll talk about that more later. But yeah, you ready to get into it?
Let's go.
Okay, so we watched this past week. We watched 2023's There's Something in the Barn, which is directed by Magnus Martens, and it stars Martin Starr, Amrita Acharia, Kiran Shah, Towns Bunner, Zoe Winter-Hansen. I hope I'm saying this right. I want to say Calle Helevang-Larsen, and then Henriette Steenstrup. And others, but those are like four people that really stood out to me in this movie. It is available on Netflix, and it is hour and 40-minute runtime. Let me read a little bit about it. Bill moves his American wife Carol and children Nora and Lucas to Norway, where he's inherited a family estate. There, Lucas discovers a mischievous barn elf from ancient folklore living in the barn, who plots to get rid of his American intruders. So yeah, just know before we go in, we've watched this movie. We're going to be talking about it in full. So if you haven't seen it and you feel like checking it out, go to Netflix and get that done. Otherwise, just know that we've got spoilers coming. So I guess I will open it up to you, Veronica. What did you think of this movie? What the
hell? What the hell? No, just, why? Not my favorite.
Okay.
Even for, and I know it was going for campy, but it just, I didn't find it funny. Maybe once I chuckled, but other than that, I didn't really find it funny. It just didn't really work for me.
Yeah, there were lots of. I chuckled a few times. There's lots of dry humor in it, which and it's very quick in passing, and so it's very easy to miss if you're not locked in and paying attention. But the moment, I feel like the funniest moments happened frequently with the sheriff of the town, who's just this woman who does not necessarily show any interest in these Americans, and is just like, okay, whatever, you're crazy, I'll talk to you later, don't drink and drive. Just the classic stereotypical tropes of Americans. That's her framework for what she thinks of them, and she tosses those out
and I would
periodically.
agree.
and she's not wrong, but
I would agree.
But I found her delivery funny. There were moments, but yeah, not as funny as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
Very interesting kill scenes.
I know the reviews that are going to be linked in the show notes are kind of split. Some thought it was, campy horror fun and entertaining, and the others thought that it missed the mark on both the horror and the fun,
right?
The funny, and I land on that that side of the fence. Where I'm just like, I mean, I was trying to, not to keep an open mind about it, but it just, even from the beginning, it just kind of had the production values of like a Hallmark channel movie, which, those of you outside the States may not know what that is, but it's, it just kind of looked like that to me. A lot of, even when they were walking through the town.
Because of the idyllic, beautiful winter village that they're in. Is that like I think that's just the town.
No, it was just, I don't know. You'd probably have to watch a lot of Hallmark movies.
I don't watch any Hallmark movies, so
but it just had that tone to it. I didn't think most of the acting wasn't what I would call top notch either. I did recognize the lady that played the wife, and I actually thought she did the best acting job. She was in a show called, what was it called? The Good Karma Hospital, something like that.
I have no idea. Yeah.
So
just didn't land for you. It might have been a little bit of a, if it were a little bit tighter. I think it's like an hour and 40 minutes. It runs kind of long, in my opinion. And there's a pretty,
for a horror comedy, yes, definitely.
For a horror comedy, and there's a big, I mean, like the action doesn't really pick up until, quite a ways into the movie, I feel like. So I feel like if they were to maybe tighten that up a little bit more, it has potential. Once the action does get going, it's entertaining. There's some fun stuff that I think comes into play. But yeah, the first half of the film is just sort of like the build up to all of this, and it's just it's a fish out of water story with these Americans who just show up in this little community in Norway and are, bound and determined to make, the father is bound and determined to make it work, but it's just this bumbling fool who doesn't know what he's doing. And so
I hated him. Like, he's just totally useless, totally useless. He doesn't parent his children. He's always wearing that stupid hat.
It's a stupid winter hat that has Norway plastered all over it.
And I spent the whole movie, I was like, why is this woman married to him?
She's quite lovely, and then she's with this bumbling fool.
I know one of the reviews also likened him to Clark Griswold, and I'm like, no. Clark Griswold is also a bumbling idiot, but he has some charm and some warmth, and Chevy Chase is funny. This guy. Well, and I know they were kind of going for that, because I think they even kind of mirrored one of his scenes where he's plugging in the lights to his. I need to remember that we're on video, right?
Yes. You can do that.
Where he's doing the dramatic, plugging in of his Christmas decor outside.
Right.
But, whatever his name was, I don't even remember. He ain't no Clark Griswold.
Bill in the movie.
Bill.
He, what was I going to say? Like, the difference between Clark Griswold and Bill is Clark Griswold he's a tryhard. I mean, he is extra, and he's always going above and beyond in his quest for the perfect Christmas and these perfect, family memories that he wants to make. And Bill is just sort of like, well, I guess I'm gonna go chop wood, even though he's probably never picked up an axe in his life. And it's just like very obvious that this is a dude who has no freaking clue. Whereas like Clark at least has this model vision in his mind of how it should be, because he bases it off of all of the perfect Christmases, or what he perceives to be perfect Christmases of years past. So yeah, this guy is he's just a fool. And
Yeah, because even when he's chopping that wood and he gives up because he can't do it, and he comes out the next morning and it's all chopped and stacked for him, he's like, "Oh, I must be losing my mind." I mean, really, dude?
Or like when he goes outside to clear
you a little more.
When he goes outside to clear this,
questions.
he goes outside to clear the snow, and it's been cleared for him, and he's like, "Look, son, that's social democracy at work." I'm like, "Oh, you're." But yeah. Did you familiarize?
And that dumb hat. The first time he showed up without his hat, his woolen cap, I almost thought it was a different. I didn't even recognize him. I thought, well, who's this dude walking into the barn?
What did you think of? So a lot of this film was shot in Edinburgh, Norway, which is like a. What do you think of that? It's beautiful.
And the house, like, I don't know what the teenage daughter was talking about. I would kill to live in that house.
I know.
Not in Norway, and I know Norway is probably, gorgeous. I can't handle cold.
Yeah, I mean, this is the reality.
Anything below 50, and I'm like, I can't deal with this cold.
Yeah. Like the entire time I was watching it, I was thinking, God, this is gorgeous, and I would love this for like a little while. If I had to live there long term, I would just give up and die. I would just lay down and. I've said this before. When I've gone, so I married a Midwesterner, everyone, and he comes from like northern United States, and so when he proposed up north, and we were vacationing with his family, and or we were on vacation visiting his family, and so that was really my first foray into snow. And yeah, I really wanted to rally. I really wanted to demonstrate that, yeah, I can hang. And I did. I got through it. But yeah, coming out of, many years of marriage later, it's not for me. It's just like, no, I would rather just lay down and wait for the good Lord to come and take me. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful scenery. The elf played by Kiran Shah, if I'm saying that name correctly. You are familiar. Have you had a chance to look at his filmography, Ron?
Yeah, he's done a lot of like Star Wars stuff.
Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Don't work.
Hobbits. Probably stand-ins, doubles for the Hobbits.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. He's done a lot of stuff. I was looking at his body of work, and he's done a lot. And so I don't know. It was cool to see it. I don't know if you want to this is a weird one, because I told Ronnie I'm not working off notes. I don't know how detailed Ron's notes are, so I don't know that we're necessarily going to take it scene by scene, but we can certainly talk about things general ideas that we had as we watched the film. I know that we opened the film on not Martin Starr, another man. This is, I guess, somebody he's related to, who's uncle who's living at that farm in Norway, and he seems to be he's talking to himself. Is this Finnish? Are they speaking Finnish? Isn't this like a Finnish thriller? Am I making that up?
It's Norwegian, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, Norwegian. Now, I don't actually know if it's a Norwegian backed production or if it just is an American movie set in Norway. I'm not real sure about that.
Yeah, Norwegian horror comedy. So we open on his uncle. He seems bound and determined. What we watched that I thought was Finnish? I think I'm thinking of a different movie. I think I'm thinking of that Rare Exports movie. That's a Finnish movie. Okay, never mind. Just kidding. So he's bound and determined to destroy the barn. It seems like first he tries to like tie a chain to his tractor, thinking I guess he's gonna, or maybe it's a snowplow, I don't know, destroy the barn. And then he's like, well, that's not gonna work. So he starts trying to douse the place in gasoline because he's gonna light it on fire. And in the process, he gets he goes upstairs in the barn. He gets plowed into by a lit tire hanging from a rope, and this is actually kind of I guess like kind of a horrifying scene to open your comedy movie on, because he gets lit on fire, and so he burns to death, and so you see him running through the snow just completely ablaze. So that's where we open on the movie. And then from there, it takes us to this American family who's now driving through this beautiful countryside en route to the farm that he has now inherited because his uncle obviously died. So, and I don't remember like what happens after that, immediately after that, but any opening thoughts on like what happens after that?
It just opens, it's a year later, because that first scene obviously was taking place at night, so it was dark, and now it's all bright and sunny, snow-covered landscape, and the American family is driving in their car, their Christmas Carol sleigh ride that's overplaying everything, and they're on their way. They arrive at the house. We get the exposition from the dad that he's inherited this from his uncle, and their plan is, they've uprooted their lives from America. They're going to come over to Norway. Their plan is to turn the barn into an Airbnb that they can rent out, and
some sort of bed and breakfast, and yeah.
And at first I was like, this wife, this mother, she's not old enough to have kids this old. And come to find out, she's the second wife. His first wife passed away like 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he met her at some kind of retreat. So she's kind of one of those life coach type people.
Yeah.
So they arrive at the house, which is lovely, despite what the teenage daughter says.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Which, I can understand. She's 16. She's, been forced to leave all her friends, her high school life in America behind. And so I can understand that she's a little PO'd.
Yeah,
PO'd about it.
But I know for my part, it would be a lovely getaway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so they don't know anybody, obviously, and they're at this point in the movie, Bill and Carol. Carol is the wife's name?
Yes.
Yes. Bill and Carol are positive and determined to insert themselves into this community. And we're glossing over. This was, I guess, a funny moment, if not a kind of highlighting the ways in which Americans are complete bumbling idiots whenever we go anywhere. On the way to their farm, they see a moose sign crossing, and they're like, oh, we're going to take our photo in front of this. This will be great for Christmas cards. And then an actual moose is crossing, and Bill is like, oh my God, I'm going to go pet him. I'm like, the minute he did that, I just was like, why? Like, what kind of idiot are you walking up to this huge animal? He's like, hey, little guy. I'm like, what is little about this giant moose, sir? And that is that whole incident is the first time where they meet the sheriff of the town that they live in. And so she's just like, yeah, don't go mess with moose. That's just a not great idea. Anyway, have fun, get into your farm, don't drink and drive.
That scene was actually my first inkling that this movie wasn't going to land well with me. I was like, oh dear. And I got an hour and 30 minutes left.
What about it just sort of didn't land for you? Just all of it, or what specifically?
Just the dad, the husband, Bill. Bill didn't work for me. I just pretty much.
You're like, this guy's going to be an annoying character. Yeah. So they get to the farm. From there, they try to take a walk through this new community and get to know the area. And again, and maybe like I can see what you mean by Hallmark elements.
When they first arrive, they kind of walk through the barn, which
that's right.
And this is when the son, Lucas, is the youngest of the two children, catches, or things are moving in the barn. And I can't remember if he actually caught sight of like a little,
I don't know, like little glowy eyes. We do see those later. But
so he knows there's something in the barn, because when they are in the town the next day, He goes into like some kind of like little museum
Yes.
where he meets a gentleman that
whose
tells him,
name that's Cal. That he's a comedian. What is his name in the movie though? What's his character name? Tor. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I want you to take us through like what he says here in a second. But before that, I do want to just point out one thing that, again, playing on these American tropes, this American family walks into what looks to be like a diner, a little cafe or whatever. And just right off the bat, just obnoxiously coming in, hey, how you like determined to insert themselves in conversation with their obnoxious greetings and kind of forcing people to have to interact with them, which
I would never do.
I would never do, and I hate it. Like I don't mean to make it sound like I'm an unfriendly person. I'm very approachable, but I'm never going to be the person who demands that you pay attention to me and talk to me. I'm never like I'm not a person who is going to say, "Hi, how you doing?" walking down the street and should I pass you? I might give you a polite smile, but that's it. That's the extent of it. So yeah, the fact that they do this the minute they walk into this cafe bugged the crap out of me because it's just like
everybody's just kind of, I'm like, read the room, people.
like tone it down.
I mean, they're clearly not that into you, so
you're operating at a 10. I need you to turn it down. But yeah, while they're doing that, embarrassing themselves in this cafe, the little boy Lucas does wander over to that quaint little, I guess, like, what is it? An outdoor exhibit? It's an exhibit of some kind of like a gnome village.
Something
and that's
like
where he meets Tor. And what is it that Tor talks to him about? Or
just tells him about barn elves and how they will help you if you treat them well and if you don't break, abide by the rules, which are basically, what was it? No bright lights. They don't like change, so no changes,
no
and
loud noises.
no loud noises.
Yeah,
which I'm already like, because the parents' plan is to turn that into a Airbnb, so but and so he tells him about, give him an offering, give him a treat, and kind of establish a good rapport, a good working rapport right off the bat.
Yeah.
So Lucas takes this to heart because he knows there was something in the barn. So he does. That's pretty much it for the town scene, right?
I think so. Yeah.
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 So when they're back home, he goes back out to the barn, and the gnome. Are they gnomes?
Well, elves, barn elf,
Because look, last year, just as a quick aside, last year for Christmas, gnomes must have been the thing because I bought a whole bunch of. I have gnomes all over my house. This is my biggest one.
Okay. You're becoming one of those people with your little niche. I want to fill my house with Krampuses, so it's fine. That's cute.
And my kids think this is creepy.
I think it's creepy. It's cute. It's cute.
Cute. I'll send you pictures of all the rest of my gnomes. But anyway, I wasn't sure. Like, I was thinking gnome. So if I keep calling this character a gnome, apologies, but it's a barn elf.
Yes.
Or a Nisa. Nisa, which we'll get into in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Lucas takes out, and the Nisa, the barn elf, shows himself to him.
Which I wasn't expecting to see it so soon. I was like, oh.
I wasn't expecting him to be so tall.
Yeah.
I was expecting like small. Like this little dude.
I'm going to start buying you, now that I know you're into this, I'm going to start buying you like truly creepy looking elves or gnomes to put up in your house.
So Lucas, gives him a was it a cookie? I think it was a cookie.
Yeah, cookie, yeah.
Offers him cookies. And what was this gesture? What did it mean again?
I guess just so what, for those of you who will not be watching this, Veronica's
putting my hand over my heart.
Yeah, I guess it's just a way to like communicate friend, communicate
friend.
Peace, whatever.
Yeah, because the barn elf doesn't speak English apparently, and
yeah.
So they kind of set a tone of like, okay, we're going to be chill with each other, and this is why when the dad later on can't chop the damn wood and can't shovel out the snow for the car, it's the barn elf that has done this, because he's been offered a cookie and he's operating on the assumption that things are going to be cool with this family,
which is very much part of what the Norwegian folklore is for barn elves. So, Ron, do you want to take this moment to read that little snippet that we...
All right, what we found online, and by no means did we do like a big deep dive, because it's the holidays, people here in America, and we're pressed for time. But, I know I am. But anyway, what we found on the internet about the Nisa, which is spelled Nisse, kind but mischievous Nisa can change their size, which would have been cool to see.
Oh, yeah,
that did
yeah,
not happen in the movie.
And,
Can change their size and even become invisible,
that
which
too
makes
would have
sense
been
because I
cool
was
to
wondering,
see.
was like, how does a barn elf this big go unnoticed for so long?
Right,
But,
right.
okay,
Yes.
so they can become invisible. If treated well, they will happily help around the house or farm while we humans sleep. The most famous of the Nisa are the Yule Nis, which have a special role for Norwegians in their Christmas celebrations. Traditionally, farmers leave out bowls of porridge for the Yule Nis, a little like leaving milk and cookies for Santa Claus here in the States. But unlike Santa, Yule Nis might play tricks on you if you don't do something nice for them. So,
yeah. So, I mean, what I will say, this film does do well in that regard. I don't know. I'm not Norwegian, but it just seems like they do tie in a lot of these Norwegian folklore elements throughout the film. So, I mean, I thought that was cool because I didn't know the thing about the porridge until it comes up later in the movie. And
I've never known what porridge actually is.
Well, it is. This was a funny moment in the movie where Tor is telling Lucas about the porridge, and Lucas is like, porridge? And Tor goes, yes, it is a food. And I thought that was fun. I know what porridge is, but I thought this was just a weird element that they pull in for the movie. And then in reading about Norwegian folklore, I'm like, oh, that's legit. You are supposed to leave out a bowl of porridge. So, yeah. But anyway, all right. So yeah, they have the botched meeting in the town with people. He learns that folklore offers a cookie, which is a peace offering to the barn elf. Who's like, does he have a name, the barn elf in the movie?
Mm-mm.
I don't know that he has a name.
No.
Okay.
Not that was ever said in the...
Yeah, he's just billed as main elf. So, yeah. And from there, we do see the scenes where, he plowing snow for Bill in the night and chopping wood for Bill in the night. And then I'm not sure, I guess this is the point where Bill and Carol decide, again, in their bumbling idiocy, that the way to make, I guess it's not a dumb idea. The way they do it is dumb, but they're like, we're going to invite the neighbors over and throw a party and try to ingratiate ourselves in the community that way, right? That's the next big thing, is they're going to start plotting.
Instead of trying to reach out to people in a way, in a foreign country, in a way that is conducive with their culture and their way of life and their way of doing things, they're like, no, we're going to do it the way Americans do it. We're going to throw a party and invite you.
But where do they decide to throw the party? That becomes problematic.
In the barn.
Yes. Is this before or after Bill has his Clark Griswold moment of like, I'm going to deck the house, the outside house with lights? Is that before or after that?
I think it's...
Or kind of coincides with it, maybe.
I think it's after.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they get to work decorating the barn, determined to have people over. And so then we do have a scene where I was kind of impressed. The number of people who showed up for the dinner party. I was just like, well, wow, I wasn't even expecting that many to show. They have a full, table of people from the community there.
That are all very stoic initially, until the booze starts flowing.
Because Carol and Bill are like, well, who was it I think it's Tor who tells them, they're a little standoffish. It's just, they need time to sort of open up and get to know you guys and warm up to you. And so Bill and Carol think, well, what's the fastest way to get people to open up? Booze. And so then we get a bunch of scenes of just people just throwing back all kinds of liquor, including, I think somebody from the community is like, this is my moon. He holds up a thing of moonshine basically, and is just like, I made this myself. You want some? And Bill's like, no, I think I'm okay. But they are getting increasingly inebriated, and we are starting to see a friendlier side of these townspeople come out. And meanwhile, down below, we have our barn elf watching all of this and getting increasingly frustrated because this is everything he hates. So yeah, I don't know if there's any key moments from this that, jumped out at you, or things you want to mention, or things you hated about it.
Well, just poor Lucas. He knows this is not good, and he keeps trying to turn the volume down on the music, and meanwhile, his surly 16-year-old sister meets another Norwegian teenager who is drinking, and so they start drinking together. And later on in the evening, after a night of imbibing, the daughter pukes on the floor, which, it goes through the floorboards and lands right on the face of our little barn elf. So this is kind of like the cherry on the cake of his evening, right? This is kind of, I think,
and you don't gotta be an elf to hate getting thrown up on.
No. So this is kind of his tipping point. This is kind of, the line in the sand has been crossed severely, and then Lucas just kind of pulls the plug on the music literally and says, okay, that's it, party's over. Instead of the parents doing this, it's the kid, the youngest person in the room. Okay, everybody out, party's over.
Right. And honestly, this is where Bill was really starting to bug the crap out of me, because once everybody leaves and they're, escorting their drunk daughter up to her bedroom, and she's just mouthing off at them the whole way, he's really useless. And it's his wife, Carol, who's having to be the disciplinarian and sort of isn't. And I think at one point he even actually refers to her as stepmom instead of just mom, which I always, that feels like a bit of an unnecessary cut. So yeah, this is where I just was like, what a complete weak sauce man. He can't be a parent. He's relying on Carol
later
to do
on
it
in the
for him.
movie, he even when Carol is trying to tell him, you need to parent your children, he even makes a remark like, I know, Carol, I'm their father. And I'm like, well, then act like their damn father.
Yeah. And so then the next thing, I do have some notes. I did some scribbling in my phone, but the next thing, I guess, is where Tor is telling Lucas. Well, first of all, Tor is amazed to find out that the lore is true. He's obviously never seen a barn elf before, so to know that, oh, they do exist, it's real. Okay, well then this is what you got to do. And so he does. This is where he tells Lucas about the porridge. Or I don't know if I might be. That's the next thing I have in my notes, so I might be skipping some key stuff that
he tells him about the porridge and how to, because Lucas knows that, what has hit the fan, and this is not good, because the Christmas decorations have all been shredded. Bill had put up a big huge inflatable Santa in the yard,
motion sensor
activated. So he's calling out ho 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 ho, and loud, and it's obnoxious. And they wake up the next morning and it's all been shredded. Everything's just strewn all over the front yard. So Lucas knows he's got to be the grown up in the room, and he has to take matters into his own hands. So he consults Tor again about what can I do to make amends with our barn elf. And I don't think Tor believed that it's true. I think that comes later when
he actually
the dad show up at the end.
Right. Okay. Okay.
He's still thinking, he's just kind of what's the word? Placating. Just kind of going along with Lucas and saying, okay, this is how you do it. You make an offering of porridge, and he tells him what porridge is and how to make it. And so
in a very specific way that you have to make it, which I read is legit. All of that is legit. There is supposed to be a pat of butter in there and all this stuff. I was like, wow.
Is it cream of wheat? I don't know. Anyway,
Kind of.
So Lucas makes this bowl of porridge, and then he sets it in the refrigerator to make his offering on Christmas Eve. And
this is where Bill, like earlier that night, Bill tries to make a
Lutefisk?
Traditional Norwegian. What is it?
Lutefisk?
Lutefisk.
I may not be saying it right, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, a Norwegian dish of fish, and oh man, I don't
even like seafood. The way Americans
I like
cook
seafood,
it, so
and I
would not be down with that.
I would eat that. I would not eat Bill's. Nothing about that plate looked appetizing. So yeah, so nobody ate dinner that night because it just was wretched.
So Bill gets the munchies, in the middle of the night, and he goes down to the refrigerator and he eats the porridge, which was
like an ass. Just everything this man does. Yeah. And so what Lucas is like, that was for the barn elf. What am I going to do now? And he decides, well, let me give this offering of lutefisk to the barn elf. Surely he'll appreciate it. It's a Norwegian traditional dish. And oh man, that was the absolute worst thing.
That was like adding insult to injury.
That was a knife right through the elf's heart. And so from there, it's like, it's on. Now is when we start to see things go awry.
Because this is now Christmas Eve. Oh, and at their Christmas party in the barn, Bill had asked one of the local Norwegian townsfolk to, and I don't know why he wanted him to play Santa, to come, he's got kids that are old enough that.
Yeah, Lucas is at most like 10, 11 years old.
Yeah,
I think that level of magic is gone at that point.
So I don't know why he was having this Norwegian townsman whose name I don't remember or didn't catch come to the house dressed as Santa, but he comes to the house in the evening. The family's inside looking totally bored, and he catches sight of the barn elf outside. He's thinking it's the dad. He's thinking it's Bill, and so he starts following him around the corner of the barn, and it's the barn elf who looks none too pleased. And he starts whacking at the side of the barn with a hammer or something. I don't know exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And it causes these very sharp icicles to loosen that are hanging off the side of the barn. And the townsman, whatever his name is, may he rest in peace, looks up, and then we just see a icicle just heading straight into the camera's viewpoint.
So that's our first kill. Our first kill, which and I thought the method was quite fun. You don't really see too many icicle killings these days in movies, so I thought that was kind of neat. And then like what happens after that?
Bill goes outside because he's waiting for this guy to show up, and he's not showing up. And I don't know what made him go outside. I think he maybe was, I don't know, but something makes him go outside, and of course he sees the sled that the dude had shown up in, and kind of the Santa bag with presents. And so he kind of just goes around investigating, rounds that same corner of the barn, and there's just like a pool of blood and snow.
Yes. And this is where he, obviously, upon seeing this, they do call out the sheriff. This is
he looks up and he sees Townsman. We should really know his name.
I'm looking at the lineup of cast, and I don't even see anybody that looks like him.
He didn't even deserve a name. So he's strung up by a string of Christmas lights, and we get the shot of the icicle just like right through his right through his forehead or eyeball or whatever.
So obviously, at that point they call the police, and out comes the sheriff. I don't know if sheriff is a term that they would have call her in that area, but that's essentially what she is. This is the role played by Henriette Steenstrup. And so she's just she's dismissive because she's like, oh, well, I see you had a party. You're drunk. And, it would have been nice to be invited and blah, blah, blah. And
lay off the booze, people.
Maybe you have a drinking problem, Americans. I think like at one point they're like, you need to something happens and they're asking her if she has a weapon on her, and she goes, no, I don't have a gun, and we don't carry guns. We're not Americans. We don't shoot each other in the face. So, and so I'm not sure what the event is that happens that has them all in fear. I do know how our sheriff meets her grisly end, but I don't know
Well,
what leads up to
they
that.
hear her snowmobile start up outside.
Start up. That's right.
So she goes out and, you know,
Is this the point? At this point have the, because at a certain point we come to realize, oh
here's
gosh,
what happened.
Jesus
Sorry.
Christ,
Because I was like, wait,
talking.
because there were multiple elves. So after Bill sees his friend, his townsman, hung up with the icicle in his head, he rushes back inside and tells the town, we gotta go, we gotta leave right now, which is probably the most appropriate thing he does in the entire movie.
Yes.
Just to like try to evacuate. So they all pile into the car, which won't start. And then all of a sudden the elf jumps on top of the car and starts swinging at the window shield to crack it.
That's right.
They I don't know, somehow he falls off or jumps off, and Lucas, who knows the rules and knows that they don't like bright lights, said, turn on the headlights. So he turns on the headlights, and this kind of temporarily blinds the elf. He falls down.
And doesn't get back up, and they hover over him for a minute. And I'm like, now would be a good time to kill him, but they don't.
Yeah. So when he wakes up, then he just starts like a roar, and a barn elf like roar, which
that's right,
apparently signals to other nearby elves, barn elves, Nisa. So more of them come, appearing out of the barn. So now it's a gang of elves.
Yeah, which makes sense, because like at that point in the movie I was thinking, well, it's just one little elf, surely we can tackle this. And then once they all start showing up, I'm like, oh, okay, I see the problem here.
So now when the going back to the point that we were at, where the sheriff comes in and she hears her snowmobile start up outside, they go outside, and it's because it's one elf is driving around joyriding on her snowmobile,
right?
And there's other elves around, so
and we see this grisly death where the snowmobile elf rams into the sheriff, slams her into a, what do they call them? There's a word. Snowdrift. Thank you. I was like, there's a word for this, and I a Texan don't know what it is. Snowdrift.
We doesn't know.
And then I'm not sure how this would happen, but somehow kills her, and then blood is spewing out the back. I'm like, oh my God, through the motor of whatever.
Which, the whole time, like that, and then the scene where Bill first finds the townsman strung up in the pool of blood on the snow, it reminded me of that song, which is a very cool song, by the way. I think it's called Blood Upon the Snow by Hoosier.
I don't know that song. It's
for a video game, God of War, which I only became aware of it because my sons are both gamers. So but it's a very cool song. Go check it out.
Okay, Blood Upon the Snow. Okay, yeah. So I was just like, oh man, she was kind of funny, and now she's gone. So at this point, they're just like, they lock themselves back in the house, right? Like they lock themselves back in the house and they go up, because I guess where else are you going to go? The elves are slamming through windows, and obviously they have no problem getting into the home. And so the family goes up and kind of barricade themselves in somebody's bedroom. And Carol gets injured, because from this point on, she's been injured, because they're like the elves show up and just start attacking them. And we do get some pretty cool fight scenes. We do get, I think like at one point she throws the Christmas star at one of them, and it embeds itself in an elf's head. And at some point, an elf stabs her in the thigh with something. I don't know what, but yeah, they're going after him. The people lock themselves upstairs, and the elves are helping themselves downstairs to what? The liquor?
The booze, the food. They're just having it. They got the music cranking. They're just having it's a melee downstairs.
And like while all of that is going on, I was just like, I feel like the family kind of just And I understand the scene, the way that it all plays out kind of allows the family to have these moments of confession and sort of, I'm sorry, da 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 da. I'm sorry I moved us here. I'm da, 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 all of these like realizations and confessions and moments of clarity that they have amongst their little family. But at the same time, while these elves are getting increasingly drunker and drunker, now would be a good time to
sneak out.
try to get out somehow, climb on the roof or something, figure out a way. But they just sort of hang out in the room. And
Yeah.
at a certain point, Bill and Lucas do decide that they do have to try to get out and get help, right? I don't know if something happens that is a catalyst for that.
Well, because they talk about getting out, escaping, and Carol, because she got injured in the thigh and has a tourniquet on. She's like, I don't think I could make it very far, and so the dad, Bill, and Lucas decide we're gonna go. Oh, Lucas says that the guy that told him all the information about the Barnos lives apparently. He said just across the main road, which I thought was just like maybe across the street, but a bit further than that.
Right.
So
they're out in the middle of nowhere, y'all.
Yeah. So he's like, Tor, I guess, is the closest person to them. So they decide, okay, the dead townsman that was gonna play Santa, his sled is still outside. We can take that. It's all downhill. We'll get on it. We'll go get help. So that's the plan. So they get out and they get on the sled, get away. There are a couple of elves that make chase, but
yeah.
They meet their,
Yeah.
I don't remember what happens to them, but
well, like eventually they do get to Tor's house, but yeah, they do have to
evade some elves.
And while that's happening, the elves back at the house that are all inebriated or they're getting into craziness, including a gun. They do find the one gun that the sheriff did in fact have out at her snowmobile. They get a hold of that, and so knowing nothing about guns, they do start shooting themselves in the face. At least a couple of them get offed this way. But do they come back? I got the sense that these elves are kind of immortal. Like and they're not immortal. You can kill them.
It doesn't seem to bother the elves that don't die. Like the deaths of their comrades,
of their comrades,
of their peers, doesn't seem to faze them or bother them.
Yeah, but they do eventually pass out in their drunken stupor. I don't know if something, but there is like a moment where the daughter and Carol, they kind of have a reconciliation. The daughter is like, I know I'm hard on you. I know I give you a lot of grief. That's my job. I'm a 16-year-old girl. That's what we do. But I do accept you. You have always been mother to me, or something to that effect. And so they have this moment of bonding, and then they resolve that they're going to get out of there. And so they start figuring out a way to get themselves out of the room. But I think at some point, like I think an elf.
Yeah, they're coming down the chimney.
Yes.
They hear noises coming down the chimney. And so Carol is telling the daughter, whose name I don't know,
what is her name?
Run. She's like telling her, go out the window and just run, just get away.
Nora. Her name's Nora. Yeah.
So Nora, gets out the window and
starts running, right?
Yeah.
She starts running.
And then the elves that make it into the room down the chimney attack Carol and pin her to the ground, and it looked like they're choking her out. It looks like, she's on the verge of being murdered in the bedroom, when outside the elves have caught up to Nora and have drug her into the snowy, dark woods. And
we see a bunch of eyes.
She screams out, "Mom!" And so this energizes Carol back in the bedroom, and she single-handedly fends off the two elves that have her. So she incapacitates them. She takes them out. She goes downstairs. She's creeping through
That's right.
Through the
all
living
the elves
room.
are passed out.
They're all passed out. She finds somebody's phone that's still on the charger, so she takes it. She makes it outside, and she makes a call to Bill. And Bill and Lucas by this time have reached Tor's house. Tor, for some reason, is by himself in his house in a tux. Was it a tux?
He's gearing a suit of some kind with a cigar. He's gearing up for a Dickensian style Christmas night. I don't know what he's doing.
He's all fancy. So they show up at his house and they're telling him, hey, we gotta go. You gotta take us back to the house. Elves attacking, wife and daughter in danger. And Tor's like, what?
Well, and again, the like little moments of humor at some point later when Tor is driving them back to the house to try to save the rest of their family. I think somebody, Bill probably is like, "Can't you go a little bit faster?" And Tor's like, "Well, I have been drinking. I can't. I can't be
against the
drinking and
law.
driving.
It's against the law to drink and drive."
So, yeah.
So Tor takes them back to the house, to the homestead, and
like he's of the mind, what we have to do is we have to make peace with these elves. We can't meet this moment with violence. We have to negotiate. And so he's determined that like we just need to reason with them and talk to them and it'll be okay. And there does seem to be one head elf. He looks like he's older, but he seems to be the one leading the charge, and he's the one who has the gun. So he's pointing the gun at these men, and Tor is trying to
because they come across their little elf encampment. And
yes.
So they see that Nora and Carol are tied to like a big post.
Yes.
And so they're trying to untie them and they can't. And then head elf shows up with his gun
and is pointing it at them, and Tor's
all like, "Have you heard of the Oslo Agreement?"
and the elf doesn't care and shoots him. Not in the face. Shoots him in the chest.
Well, more like the shoulder.
Yeah, and like so I thought, Tor, like the one character that I, aside from the sheriff, those are the two characters that I enjoyed the most. I'm like, damn it, now he's dead. I can't remember, like, once they shoot him, what is it that takes place?
We do have our
main...
Their barn elf
is starting to have
because he's kind of watching, and he kind of sees that, his kinsmen are acting like frat boys,
and maybe he didn't intend for consequences this severe. Like maybe he was just like,
he's having second thoughts, and he eventually just runs up and inserts himself between the family, the American family, and his head elf dude, and they're speaking in something. Now my TV, my not closed captions, my, what are they called?
Subtitles,
showed it as barn
elfish.
Was that what it was?
Barn elfish?
They had it all as one word, so I was like, barn elfish? What is that?
Yeah, no, I saw that too, and I was like, what is that? And I'm looking up, what is barn elfish? It's not
a real language, apparently. It's because it's barn elfish. Okay. Yeah. So it should have been two words I was like, what is barn elfish?
The language of the ancients.
They're speaking in barn elfish. Which is not translated, so we don't know what they're saying, but head elf isn't buying whatever our little barn elf is saying. So he helps untie the ladies, and I don't know what the heck happens after this, but
well, yeah,
they somehow make it back to the barn.
Yes.
And the family's up in the barn loft.
They're up in the barn loft, and the family makes a decision. What is the decision? The family makes a decision that I guess Lucas and like they I don't really understand like how there's gasoline on the floor, but Nora sees an opportunity, using her great skills to craft a paper plane and fly it. She sees an opportunity to send an igniting
which
tool.
Would not fly, but oh well.
Yeah, which, like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Sends an igniting tool down into the gas and start a fire and or an explosion of some kind and blow up this barn as Bill's uncle always intended. And so the idea is like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to jump out the back of this barn window and make our escape. And Carol and Nora say, you guys go, we've got this, trust us. And
That's
Bill,
right.
all too happy to be like, okay, great. Bye, ladies. you got this figured out. Jumps out with Lucas, and Carol and Nora are like, okay, we're going to do it. She folds this paper plane, ignites it, sends it down into the gasoline and sets off this huge explosion, and the ladies jump out just in the nick of time and somehow manage to avoid getting blown up. But and you know what, we didn't see Lucas and Bill and the main elf, because I was like, well, what about the main elf? You know, but he jumps out with them too, so he makes it out too. And so, you know, they blow up the elves. They blow up the
blow up the barn. The barn is no more.
the little
And
army of elves.
as they're huddled outside watching the burning barn, then Tor shows up. Well, yeah. Tor shows up. He's being led. He's tied up. He's being led by a couple of elves, and he's like, "See, I told you." And you know, we reached an agreement. And the elves are kind of like, "Yeah, whatever." They shove him away, and they take off back into the woods. And
Yes.
so it's Tor and our family, and they're kind of hugging it out at the end. They have their moment of group hug.
Group hug.
Pretty much it, right?
That's pretty much it. Where it goes from there is
no one knows.
They do guide main elf over to the little exhibit that Tor had set up. You know, this is the perfect little village, albeit it's in the middle of town, so I don't see how, but it's, you know, it's this perfect little village that's for him. He can live there in peace and nobody will bother him. And so the main elf and Lucas do kind of have their final goodbye, you know, hand over the heart again, parting friendship and you know, peace, knowing that there's peace between them. The little barn elf goes away and goes off into the little village to live. And so that's it. I don't remember if there's another ending apart from that, but that's it.
No, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. So that is the end of There's Something in the Barn.
Something should have stayed in the barn.
Something maybe never should have come out of the barn. Yeah, I don't know. It
was more fun talking about it than watching it. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, there was a couple of the reviews that we looked at kind of suggest that this could be a film that kids could watch. You know, certainly, maybe not young kids, but certainly maybe, you know, my oldest and middle kid would be old enough. It's not as funny as Gremlins. There's comparisons to Gremlins, obviously. I think Gremlins is funnier. And I think, what is that tapping? What are you doing?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I think Gremlins is funnier, and I think there's, like, I don't know, there's not even truly that grisly, gruesome. Like, there's not really, kills are limited in this movie. Violence is kind of limited in this movie, so it's just like there's not a whole lot going on. Having said that, though, I think it's pretty tame, and yeah, maybe one that older kids could definitely watch. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel it's kid appropriate or not? There's no bad language, really.
Well, the daughter launches the F-bomb.
She does say the
times.
F word a lot.
So just know that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of gore, not really. Not really.
No.
Of course, I think we're pretty desensitized.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it is
low stakes.
Low stakes. And I thought the Norwegian folklore, that is a cool aspect of it that was nice and good to tie in. I always enjoy learning about stuff like that. But yeah, as far as like true comedy, I think your strongest players in this scenario are going to be the Calle Helevang-Larsen, who is a comedian, and then Henriette Steenstrup, who is also, I'm looking her up, Norwegian actress and comedian. So yes, that tracks, because these two people do they deliver that deadpan humor in this film, and they deliver it well, versus I think everything else just kind of falls a little flat. So yeah, I don't know. But I beautiful place to have Christmas. Beautiful area to live, or at least temporarily. I don't know that I could do it long term. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say about this movie, or cool facts about the movie.
No, not really.
Okay.
I didn't even hang around. Usually I hang around through most of the credits just to see if there's like any little after. I think Marvel has just conditioned me now to always think that, there might be a post-credit scene. I didn't even hang around.
Do you normally do that for some of the horror movies we look at?
Yeah, that's how I knew that for Phenomenon there was that.
Oh, that's right.
Last scene.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I said, this movie was filmed in Edinburgh, Norway, which is a municipality north of Oslo. So that would be the major area in Norway that this is nearby. But yeah, whatever, I watched it. I would maybe put it on for the kids, I guess, at some point, but it's not a
Not
movie.
necessarily a movie I would recommend anybody to watch. We watched it, so you don't have to.
I mean, there are other horror comedies that I think, like I enjoyed Krampus a lot, and I think
Yeah,
Krampus
was fun.
is definitely got rewatchability. This movie, I don't know if it has rewatchability. I did enjoy the Norwegian folklore. I would watch it for the elves, I guess, but I wouldn't watch it for these Americans with their
No.
booze and their guns and their speeding. I wouldn't watch it for that. But I enjoyed them. I enjoyed Main Elf. By the end of the movie, I was just like, I like Main Elf. I'm glad that he survived. I'm glad that they were able to find a place for him to be. So,
even though he did murder innocent townsdude.
Who did? Oh yeah, that's right. He does. He is the one who does. Honestly,
I mean, I was glad he was able to find a home, because I did feel bad for him. But isn't that weird? Like that we would feel bad for him when he did murder somebody.
There was I mean, again, Bill is such a doofus. The moment where I think he does, where they're fending off attacks from the elves in their home before they make it upstairs, I didn't see it, but I guess Bill does get bit by one of them.
Oh yeah.
And so then upstairs he's like, I was bitten. So when I start to change, you have to kill me.
Yeah, he's telling Lucas, dummy. double tap to the head. And Lucas is like, doofus, they're not zombies, you idiot.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, that's it. I guess we're done with that. We can we can go into the final segment of our show, which is where I wanted us to kind of talk about best movies we watched this year, maybe our top 3. Ron, did you have a top 3 that you wanted to talk about?
It was hard. I was kind of looking back through what we've watched to kind of narrow it down. So I'm gonna, and this, it's one of those things where the number 3 slot could probably change depending on when you ask me. Where did I write them down? Hold on. My number 1 favorite, absolute, that we watched in the year was El Espinazo del Diablo.
Was that this year?
Was it?
I think that was last year.
Damn.
That was 2023.
Well, damn, now my list might be just totally wonky.
Well, I mean, go with it. Just, whatever. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was last year because I wasn't able to include it in our videos that we've been re-releasing. So yeah, what would be next? Well, that was your number 1 favorite.
Go with yours first. Let me see if I can fix this on my end.
Well, so I would do this in order. So, and I'm kind of like I tried to be like, okay, are there any on this list that I think are truly scary? And this number 3 for me is not scary. It wasn't scary, but I put Tigers Are Not Afraid, obviously, because I do love Issa Lopez. So she had to go on there, but she's not it's not necessarily a scary film, so it doesn't get number 1 status. That's my number 3. I think, I don't know if Sister Death definitely had some scariness to it. And so I guess by that virtue, it should be number 2. But also, honestly, Killer Book Club, even though it's not,
Was that this?
Killer Book Club was February of this year.
Okay.
One of our February movies. And so it's not, I don't know that it was like my favorite movie, but it does kind of follow the formula of at least American scary movies in terms of, your slashers, your Scream movies, your Friday the 13th stuff. It kind of follows that formula. So that could also be a tie for 2 for me. But my number one was When Evil Lurks. That one.
Which one was that one?
Damien Rugna, When Evil Lurks. Remember the there's like an evil that is we just watched this not that long ago. When Evil Lurks, Damien Rugna, and
is that the one where like the 3 different homes?
It's the one where it's like remember the goat scene? There's like the evil is infecting. It's sort of like you kind of get the sense that this evil
like
is kind of a viral thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty gruesome and scary. And so, yeah, that would be my number 1. But yeah, Tigers Are Not Afraid is 3. 2, maybe a toss-up between Sister Death and Killer Book Club, just strictly talking about like what is truly scary, has scary moments to it. And then my number 1 is When Evil Lurks. There's also Aterrados. We watched that one this year. We did our first branch out of Spanish language horror. So that brought movies like The Ritual and The Binding. We watched The Binding.
So on my list, okay, so take off El Espinazo del Diablo since that was last year. I did have Tigers Are Not Afraid on my list.
Okay.
And then I had Killer Book Club on there also. I thought that one was kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it follows the formula that we know as Americans.
And then so and I'm not necessarily I guess Tigers Are Not Afraid would be my number 1. And then I would put what is it called? When Evil Lurks.
When Evil Lurks.
As number 2, and then Killer Book Club as number 3.
Yeah.
Would be mine. For the...
I mean, and Aterrados has plenty. That's another Damien Rugna that we watched this year. That has lots of scariness too, as well. But When Evil Lurks, for me, it married the scariness with like a really, I thought, well done plot. And Aterrados, also really cool movie, but I had questions at the end of it that just went unexplained for me. So
you gotta tell me plots, because I don't know. I'm not matching plot with titles. I don't always pay attention necessarily to titles. Which one was that one?
Veronica, these are like fairly recent movies that we looked at. Aterrados was like in September. Aterrados, Terrified. That one was the one where, remember, there's like the little boy that gets killed and buried and then comes back. And it's like this dead little boy at the table.
Oh, that's the one with the 3 older paranormal experts. Okay. Yeah, that's a good movie.
The doctors. Yeah. It was good. It's just like there were things that went unexplained for me coming out of that movie that I just don't have answers to. And so just on that alone, I thought plot in When Evil Lurks was a little bit tighter. So, but they're both really good.
That's kind of usually the case for, I think, a lot of horror movies, is like it's not always wrapped up, nice and neat for the audience.
Yes. Yeah.
Like an American horror or older American horror. I don't know, maybe not so much current American horror, but definitely like back in the days of Friday the 13th and Halloween, like your main serial killer protagonist would pop up, they just never died.
Right.
So
things were always kind of set up that there were going to be subsequent movies. Certainly in Halloween. Halloween ends, there's going to be a potential for a sequel with that ending. Yeah. Are you guys going to go see Nosferatu? Opens on Christmas Day, doesn't it? Or is it already out? I think it's already out. It's already out. At the time of this recording, which is the 21st, it's I believe it's out already. Are you guys going to go see it?
I don't know that we'll go see it on Christmas Day. This Christmas to me just seems like it has come so fast that I feel like I haven't even really, despite my attire today, I feel like I haven't really even had a chance to get into the Christmas spirit. And so like we're trying to cram in all our usual Christmas activities, and somehow we found ourselves with just one weekend left to do it. So like last night, and we weren't planning on doing this, and I'm surprised that the kids kind of even still wanted to do it. So last night we were at Fiesta Texas for, because they have it all decked out for Christmas. And
Fun.
Tonight we're going downtown. This is why Valerie and I are recording Saturday morning instead of Saturday evening like we usually do, because tonight we're heading downtown to the Riverwalk, which is all lit up for Christmas.
All lit up for Christmas, yeah. And then you guys are going to go see a movie. Is that tonight or tomorrow?
This afternoon,
Yeah.
at 1. The kids all want to go see the new Sonic movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which apparently is doing really well. It's got
No, I was just asking for Nosferatu because I figured that kind of seems like the kind of movie that your older kids would, especially like Pia, Bella, Annie.
Bella does not like horror movies.
Sorry, I just name dropped all of your children.
Oldest daughter does not like scary movies at all.
Yeah.
Youngest daughter does. But she hasn't mentioned it. I don't even know if she knows.
Oldest daughter is not into horror at all?
Mm-mm.
Really?
Doesn't like scary movies at all. Like, she doesn't even watch Stranger Things with us.
Come on, man. Your youngest has watched Stranger Things though, right?
No.
Or is he's not into it either?
He hasn't expressed an interest.
All right. Well,
if it's not a video game, he just like, why am I here?
Yeah. I saw that they just wrapped the final season. They just wrapped production, so it is slated to be released in 2025.
Like 30 years old now.
I know. And am I making this up? I thought I read somewhere that there's going to be a bit of a time jump, like there would have to be. But maybe I'm making that up. Don't quote me on that, people. I could be wrong. But I thought that there was going to be a bit of a time jump with this final installment, but we'll see. Yeah. They wrap production though, so I'm looking forward to that. Everything's coming to an end. This past week, Alex and I watched the series finale of What We Do in the Shadows. So have to say goodbye to that. Stranger Things coming to an end, and just makes me sad. These are my little staples that I like. My little creepy shows. Yeah. Is there anything, recommendations, anything that you want to recommend to people that you're listening to, watching, reading? Doesn't have to be horror. This is our monthly recommendations we're trying to do. You got anything?
Well, as a Christmas movie, I would recommend for children and adults. It's an enjoyable movie. I love it. For any age is Klaus, which is, I think it's on Netflix. Have you seen it?
Once again, I have never watched it all the way through. My kids have already seen it this season, but
I love it.
I utilize when the kids get on a holiday movie, I utilize it as the time to get things done. Whether it's
watch it.
I like the song. The song about whatever the main ballad is in that song. I like that one. I've listened to that before.
Movie.
But I still have never seen. I know I have seen enough that I get the general story, but I haven't watched it through all the way. Yeah. So Klaus, that's the one this recommendation.
That's one of my favorite holiday movies. I have already watched. I'm so behind on watching my holiday movies. The only one I've watched so far is Miracle on 34th Street, the original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't watched all the rest of them. But a show that I just learned about that I have not watched yet, but sounds very interesting to me. It's called From.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. I've heard of it.
Video.
I haven't watched it either, but I've heard of it.
I want to check it out. So that's on my list to check out.
Well, I figure you guys all got I don't really have anything holiday specific to share. But I do want to recommend just a podcast that's been around, and I'm late to the show as usual. So there's 3 seasons of it called In the Dark. I was just like, where is it? In the Dark. There's 3 seasons of In the Dark. I've already binged through the first 2 seasons, and I'm now on season 3, which is the current season. So if you are into kind of investigative reporting and true crime, I guess, true crime adjacent, then give this one a look if you're not already familiar with it. This current season is kind of taking a look at the what's known as the Haditha massacre. This was the killing of, I think, like 24 men, women, and children of Haditha, Iraq by U.S. Marine Forces. And so it's kind of an investigative reporting of what happened and the failure on part of the U.S. military to hold any of these people accountable, really. So it's a hard hello, Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
It's
way to end on a downer, Valerie.
well, it's a I know, I'm sorry. We'll pick it back up, but it's such a good, it's a hard listen. It's all of In the Dark seasons are kind of tough listens as they examine these, the lack of justice in so many cases, but it's really important reporting. This is something that I was not familiar with. So, in terms of educating yourself on things you may be unfamiliar with, give it a listen, but just know it's hard. It's a hard listen. But yeah, let's pick it back up. I watched Scrooge last night, Bill Murray's Scrooge. I like that. That one is usually on my holiday list. So I will be devoting the rest of this weekend to I'm going to be making a figgy pudding, Veronica. I'm doing it. I don't know I don't even know that I necessarily would like it because there's a bunch of dried fruit in it, and I'm not big on fruit in my food because I just want to make it. I just want to say that I've done it. So I have all my dried fruits. I'm gonna soak them in the booze that they've got to soak in this afternoon, and then I'm just winging it. We're gonna do it. It's I guess we would describe it as a fruit cake here in America. So it's like a fruit cake. I know. But no nuts. I don't have any nuts in mine. You might put nuts in this. I have no idea, but I don't like nuts in my food.
You don't like nuts?
I don't like nuts in my food. I don't even like fruit in my food. So this, I don't know why but I just want to make it to say that I've done it. But then you're supposed to steam it. You bake it essentially by steaming it for 2 hours or something. So we're going to give this a go. And then at the end, you pour brandy on it and then you light it on fire. So I think I just want to I think the whole reason I want to make this is because I want to pour brandy on it and then ignite it and serve it like that. So I don't know. We're going to give that a go. And then we're making tamales. So we've got to do that. We have a lot going on this weekend. But yeah, that's apart from watching movies and going downtown, you guys do anything special in the lead up to Christmas?
What else are we doing? No, just the downtown trip. I'm not cooking for Christmas. I don't.
Do you guys go out to eat or what do you do?
Well, actually, we're trying to figure out who's open on Christmas that we can get food for.
Yeah.
I usually on Christmas Eve. What we've done for as long as we've had kids, I guess, is I just make an assortment of different finger foods, like appetizer foods. Like wings, little smoky sausages, just different, might have half sandwiches. And so I just it's a Christmas Eve spread that just kind of is out.
Yeah.
People can.
And you watch movies.
Yeah. People can choose that. And then for Christmas dinner, that's what we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah. We generally have always done Christmas dinner with we'll do Christmas morning at home, yada, yada. But then Christmas dinner, we would always generally go see the in-laws. We're not doing that this year, apparently. I got told this last night. So I'm like, oh, well, crap. I got to figure out what we're doing for Christmas dinner then. So I'm trying to figure that out. But yeah.
Because my kids don't. I like ham, but none of them are really ham eaters. We just did turkey for Thanksgiving, so I don't really want to have turkey. I don't really know. Maybe I'll do something.
I like
lasagna.
I like
a Christmas lasagna.
Do it. I like Christmas dinner as a way to sort of, because you don't have to do a set thing like you would turkey for Thanksgiving. So just do whatever. Pick a recipe if you decide to do that and do whatever you want. You could do a Christmas lasagna. Yeah. Go for it.
I did find a drink that I wanted to try. Can you believe it?
Ooh, okay. A Christmas cocktail?
Yeah, I found a list because I was searching for Christmas dinner recipes that aren't ham or a roast because I don't want to do a roast either. What's a good? It was a mistletoe martini.
Oh, okay. What's in it?
I'm trying to look it up real quick. Do you have a Christmas beverage
Well,
while I'm looking?
I mean, thank you honestly for bringing it up because I forgot. I was going to try to recommend something to folks. This is something I've had at Christmas time, so I figure I will recommend it to folks. I don't think I'm going to be doing it this particular time around because I'm going to be trying other things. And I will probably, I'll tell you what, I'll share those things on our Patreon. But at this moment, as of this recording, I don't know what those other things I'm going to try are. But I would recommend to folks a Cur Royale or a Cur Royal, which is I don't really know. It's a French cocktail, I believe, but it calls for half an ounce of creme de cassis and then a little bit of dry champagne on top, or sparkling wine on top. So the creme de cassis, if I'm saying that right, I apologize. You want to use a small amount, like a little goes a long way, and you can overdo it, and then it overpowers your sparkling wine. So go light on that. You're just basically doing it for a little bit of the flavor profile and the color. You want that red color in your drink. And then you can garnish with, like, if you want to garnish with berries or whatever, go for it. But I've had that previous holiday seasons, and it's pretty tasty. If you get it, like, I'm serious, like just the smallest amount so that you're not overpowering your sparkling wine.
All right, so here it is. I mainly just, when I was scrolling through, stopped on it because it just looks pretty.
Yeah.
But
do you
I don't
show
know
me
if
the
you
picture?
can see the picture.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
picture?
yeah, that does look pretty.
It's a mistletoe
what's in it?
martini. So it's cranberry, mint, vodka, and elderflower liqueur.
Okay, yeah.
Have you ever heard of such an elderflower liqueur?
Yeah. Elderflower liqueur, is that what Saint Germain? Yeah, Saint Germain's is the brand that we've bought for that. Go easy on that. I will tell you, go easy on that. It's sweet. It'll be hangover city if you go too hard with that. So
Well, I would just have like one, but
yeah,
but it just looks so pretty.
you should try it. You could even
And
try
y'all
it
know
with,
I'm not a drinker, so
you could even try it because I know you don't like the taste of liquor. Really, you could try a flavored vodka. If
well,
you want.
does vodka have a flavor? Robert said it didn't really have much of a
It
flavor.
doesn't really have a flavor, but I mean, I should change that. It does have a flavor. It's not good. Like vodka shots to me is not great. And I think I've said this on the podcast. That's something I won't do, but because of bad experience in college with that. But vodka is easily masked in cocktails is probably what he's saying. So yeah,
Okay.
you can mask it really well. And it sounds like that drink would be a good, go for it. You should do it. Do it with,
I will report back at the next podcast.
All of like a lot of Veronica's kids. Well, let's say this: like all of her is second oldest.
Yes, he's 21 now.
21 now. Okay, so yeah, you've got two kiddos that are legal drinking age. Make it for them. Nobody's going anywhere, right? Is anybody working on Christmas Eve?
No.
Okay, so yeah, have yourself a little party.
I'll let you guys know how it turns out.
Put out some porridge for the barn elves.
Porridge.
All right. Well, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to close out our final episode of 2024 on. Any wishes for listeners or whatever?
Well, I just wish everybody, peace, and that you find, happiness in the things that you love. I just want to keep hanging out here. I don't want to go into 2025.
Let's just pretend it's not happening.
I'm being dragged in, scratching and clawing at the floor.
Against my will. I did not sign up for this, and yet here I am.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening and for being part of this journey with us. We have definitely grown in terms of listenership, and so we're so thankful for that, and we appreciate you guys being part of this with us. We definitely, before we let you go, we do want to remind you that we do have a book club discussion episode coming up at the end of January. Generally, we push out like 2 episodes a month because we're every other Monday. So our second episode in January will be book club discussion, where we'll be talking about the book Extended Stay by Juan Martinez. And we've got fun stuff planned for that. Be part of that with us. That's where we normally talk about cocktails, do book club, have book club style questions if we can. And if you want to be part of that discussion, You can always email us your take on a book or questions that you have about a book that you'd like us to address on the show. But you can also be interactive in the discussion with us if you go and join our Patreon. So the other reminder we want to let you guys know about is that Don't Watch at Night does now have a Patreon that you can join. We have one tier, it's the $3 tier. And when you join, you do get access to book club discussion. You'll also get one video episode a month. You'll get an invite to one happy hour kind of streamed event a month. And then one thing that we do want to try and do next year is we want to do virtual live shows. So this is your opportunity to have first access to that. And I think that's it. I think those are the only major reminders we wanted to issue. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sharing us with your creepy friends and family that also like horror stuff. Don't feel shy about dropping us a review. It does help other people find the show. So if you like what you're listening to and you want to keep hearing more, give us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever.
And send us your recommendations. If there's a good horror movie in your country, send it our way. We'll put it on our list.
Yeah, we do try to do a step outside Spanish language horror. We do try to do those periodically. So we've done 2 this year. We're hoping to, keep that going next year as well. It just sort of allows us to look at other horror outside of Spanish language horror because there is so much. There is a wealth of stuff. And that's another thing that we do kind of hope to bring to the Patreon is maybe some movie watching parties together where we watch a lot of the films that we don't have time to cover on this podcast. So yeah. Is that it? We got anything else?
That's it.
All right, everyone. Well, we hope you enjoy the holiday season. Happy New Year. The next time you hear from us, it will be January 2025. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
All right, bye. Don't Watch at Night is a Nest production hosted by me, Veronica, and Valerie. Editing by Valerie. Music by Omar Chakor. Production support for this episode provided by Lorenzo Villarreal and Alex Street. Listen to new episodes of Don't Watch at Night every other Monday, and don't forget to give us a rate and review. It's the best way to help us grow.